So today's discussion is about income tax feature that is available in Tallyprime. So when we call it as income tax, so here we are going to cover about the income tax that an employer can deduct on the employee salary. So what are the different components related to income tax feature that we are having in Tallyprime? We are going to cover in today's session. So let's look at the agenda. So agenda is we will see in the product how we can enable the income tax feature for payroll. So obviously in order to deduct the income tax, you have to have the payroll feature enabled in the Tallyprime. That is, you have to manage your employee data and the salary part, then you will be able to charge the income tax on the salary. So next we'll take you through the different components of the income tax feature, which includes payhead configuration. So whatever the different earning payheads you have created in the company data, how you will be able to configure them for the income tax calculation. And we will be taking you through the declarations and exemptions which has been declared by the employees and how you'll be able to configure that so that they can be considered for IT deduction. And I'll take you through the income tax computation report and then how you'll be able to deduct in the voucher and whatever the income tax you have deducted on the employee salary, how you'll be able to show the payment to the department in the books of accounts. So that I'll take you through. So finally, we will try to cover the income tax returns part. So this will be the today's agenda. So the entire walkthrough will be in the product. So these are the various things that we are going to discuss in the product. So meanwhile, if you get any questions, I request you to put it in the questions panel so that during the flow or after completing the flow, I'll be able to take through those questions. So during the flow, I'll be able to take up the questions which are related to that particular configuration. So if anything is not related to that configuration which I am currently showing in the product, I'll be able to answer those questions at the end of the session. So I hope session agenda is clear to everyone. Right. So here, as I mentioned, in order to deduct the income tax on the employee salary, you need to enable payroll feature and you need to create the employees as masters and whatever the various components related to employee earnings. It could be deductions or it could be earnings for them like basic pay head or HRA pay head. All those deductions has to be or all those earnings has to be created as different pay heads in the data. So if you could remember, last month we have covered a detailed session on how exactly you'll be able to manage the employee salary. So after attending that, here now we are going to understand. So on that salary part, how we will be able to charge the income tax. So here in this data, in case if you have not enabled the payroll feature, so in your company data, you need to take the data backup because you're going to enable a new feature in case all these years you have not enabled the payroll feature. So in order to enable this, first you take the data backup. After taking the data backup, you can click on this Alt K company feature. You can see in the top menu, we have first option as Alt K company, right? So I'll be clicking on this. Once I click on this, you can see here features option will be available. So you need to click on this F11 company features. And here under the payroll section, you can see we have the option of maintain pay. So if you enable only the first option, you'll be able to create the employee masters and define various components of salary. And then you'll be able to record the vouchers. And related to the vouchers, you'll be able to generate different MIS reports related to payroll. So in case if you want to charge the income tax or ESI or PF, then we have given this next option, that is enable payroll statutory. So if you want to charge the income tax or deduct the income tax, then in that scenario, you have to enable this option, enable payroll statutory. So here you can see related to income tax, here you are supposed to provide the company related information like TAN number, tax registration number, deductor type, so that all these things will be part of your income tax challan or forms or returns that you generate from Tallyprime. So this will not be part of your income tax computation or this will not participate in your vouchers. So only when you are generating the returns, that is annual returns or 24Q from the Tallyprime, in that scenario, all these information are mandatory to capture in the return and you have to provide the details here. I hope all of you are clear about the configuration part. Any questions or any doubts here? Okay, Shilpa, in case if you require the last session recording, you need to write a mail to support@tallysolutions.com so that we will be able to share you the recorded link. Okay, Praveen is having a question. In F11 features, PF details are to be mentioned or not. So Praveen, all these details you need to mention specific to your company. So whether it is PF or whether it is income tax, you need to mention here. So you can see a note here. All the above details will be used in challan, forms and returns. So related to income tax, when you make a payment to the department, you will be able to generate the income tax challan, which you can share it with your banker. So similarly, for Provident Fund also it applies. So all this information you need to provide so that it will capture in your challan and return forms. What is standard working days in ESIC? So Shilpa is by default 26 days. So this is not the working days of your calendar month. So as per the ESI, for how many days you want to capture as standard working days in your ESI return form. So usually the standard working days as per ESI is 26. So the same thing has been mentioned here. So here one more thing you need to capture. So under the income tax, you can see here the type of company we have given as government and others, right? So in case if you are a government body, then only you have to select the government. And in case of private limited or other partnership firms and other things, you have to select type of company here as others. So this is very much important. So after we have enabled this, so here you can see I have created few employees. So let me just take you through the new employee creation. So when I go to master creation, since we have enabled payroll, you can see we are getting the employee option here. So though I have the data of other employees, I'll be creating a new employee here. Right. So while creating the employee itself, you have the option to define the salary. So salary details are nothing but what are the components of salary which will be given to the Aditi Sharma as per the offer letter, so that you can mention over here. So currently I'm just creating the basic details of employee. So here while you are maintaining the income tax, so here you need to ensure that you select the proper gender here. So as on today, the slab rates are similar for both male and female. But in case in future, if it is going to be different slab rates, then the configuration will help you to bifurcate the income tax slab rates accordingly. So income tax slab rates are configured inbuilt in the product. So it's not required to be created by the user. And also here you need to ensure that you give the proper date of birth, because based on the date of birth, the employee age will be calculated, so that for the income tax purpose, we can classify whether it is a senior citizen or super senior citizen or the general category. So date of birth is also very much important, which you have to provide in the employee creation or alteration screen. So next, the important point comes is about applicable tax regime. So all of you know that today we do have two different tax regimes. One is old tax regime and the new tax regime. So new tax regime, in case if somebody has opted, so accordingly here you can select the tax regime under section 115 BAC. So if they are opted for old tax regime, So basically, old tax regime will be opted by those employees who have more savings or home loan. So in order to get the exemptions, they will be opting for regular tax regime. So during the financial period, any one tax regime is applicable for the employee. So they can't change the tax regimes frequently for their salary, right? So I can't say that first 4 months, that is from April till July, I want to be under new tax regime, and then I want to change it to old tax regime. So that will not be possible. So during the financial period, under one tax regime, you are supposed to deduct the income tax. So based on the tax regime of the employee, you can select here accordingly. So currently I'm selecting regular tax regime. And next important part is you have to mention the PAN number, because without the PAN number, then the income tax deduction will be at a higher rate, that is 20%. So PAN number is mandatory here. Rest of the details are related to other statutory like PF or ESI. So currently I'm just leaving those as blank. So I'd like to pause here. So all of you are clear, right? For income tax purpose, what are the mandatory information that are required to be filled in the employee master? So those are gender, date of birth, and also the tax regime and the income tax number. Is the employee configuration is clear to everyone? Okay, thank you so much for the confirmation. So now let's accept this. So after this, what I have done is I have created few of the employee pay heads. Let me just go to the list. So pay heads are nothing but your salary details. Like here I've created different pay heads which are applicable for different employees. Like basic salary, it would be applicable for all the employees. So while creating this particular pay head, I will be classifying this under earnings for employees. So if anybody has not gone through this earlier session, you can request for the recorded link so that you can understand how a particular pay head can be created. So without the pay heads creation, you will not be able to configure the salary component for the income tax. So now you can see I have created here a particular pay head, that is basic salary, right? So here I have created different pay heads, like it could be for PF or it could be for ESI, right? And it could be for HRA allowance, or could be for deductions, or it could be for special allowances. So various components of the salary as different pay heads, you will be creating it. And in order to charge the income tax, so that is in order to deduct the income tax, you need to have a separate pay head. Like in case if you want to deduct the PF or deduct the ESI on the employee's salary, you'll be having different pay heads over here. Similarly, for income tax, I'll be creating a new pay head here. So I'm giving the name of the pay head as income tax on salary. So here you can see the different type of pay heads, that is nothing but salary components you will be able to create in Tallyprime, right? So you could create bonus, because on the bonus also you are supposed to charge the income tax, right? And there could be deductions from the employee's salary, like in case if they are late for X number of days, you are going to deduct. And there are certain leaves which they have taken beyond permission. So all those things will be part of the deductions. And whichever are earnings like basic, allowances, perquisites, all those things will be able to classify under earnings. Along with us, we have also the statutory deductions. So for statutory deductions, we have given employees statutory deduction here. So income tax is also part of the employees statutory deductions, right? So I'll be selecting here employees statutory deduction. And here you can see statutory pay type is income tax, because ESI, national pension schemes, PF, professional tax, all those things are statutory deductions. So currently I'm creating the pay head as income tax on salary. So here I'll be selecting pay type as income tax. So it's a liability of the organization to deduct and remit to the department. So here I'll be classifying as current liabilities. So with this classification, so whenever you deduct the income tax, so that particular value will also show under current liabilities in your balance sheet. So once you remit it, it will be showing as expenses, or through whichever account you have paid. So either in balance sheet, it will be reflecting under cash or bank account. So here you can see the calculation type while creating this pay head. So based on the income tax slab, you are supposed to deduct the income tax on the employee salary, right? Considering all the declarations that are being made by the employee. So since, as I mentioned, the income tax slab is inbuilt given in the product. So you'll not be able to select anything under calculation type and your cursor will skip here, right? So usually we will be applying this income tax slab for a particular month salary. So I'll be selecting here as months. And also you can see the rounding method. Are you able to move the cursor here? No, right? Because as per the TDS rules, always it has to be having the upward rounding. So that is the reason we have defaulted that as well in the pay head creation. So that is the reason here you are not able to move your cursor to the rounding method and also the limit. So by default, income tax will get rounded off to upward rounding. Dilip Kumar is asking, can you please explain about HRA? So HRA includes exemption and declaration as well. So Dilip, when it comes to declarations, I'll be taking up this topic. So pausing here to understand in case if the steps to create the income tax pay head is clear to everyone. Any doubts here to create this particular pay head? Okay, thanks for the confirmation. Let me just press accept. So now I have already having the so many other pay heads. Now what I'm supposed to do, I'll be configuring it in my employee salary. So in order to define the salary components, so under the master alteration, that is you'll not be able to get it under master create. You have to navigate to masters alter, and under the master alteration, we have given this define salary. So you need to enter on this define salary. So I have created a particular employee. I'll be selecting that employee, Aditi Sharma, and from when this particular salary is applicable. So you have to mention that, right? So here I'll be selecting start afresh. So first I'll select all the earnings. So whenever you are defining the salary, you need to ensure that first you select all the earnings and then the deductions has to be selected. So first I'll be selecting basic salary. So say suppose basic salary is 25,000 and I'm also giving HRA allowance of 5,000. Next I'm giving special allowance of 2,000. So all these are my earnings for the employee. So next I'm taking my statutory deductions. So first I'm taking employee PF, then pension account, which is contributed by employer, that is employee pension scheme. And next, whatever the employer is going to contribute for the PF, that is 3.67%, that particular pay head I'll be selecting. And also in case if the ESI is applicable for this. So here basically for this employee, I'll not be selecting ESI because the earning is more than the eligible amount. So I'm not going to select the ESI here. So I want to charge the income tax. So here I'll be selecting income tax on salary. So in this way, you have to define the salary details. So I'll press enter and accept it. So whenever this particular salary gets revised, so you can mention a revised date here. For example, after 6 months, you are going to promote this employee. So her salary details is going to get changed. So there will be increment in the salary or some new components are getting added. So in that scenario, you can mention a new effective date here, like 1st of November 2024, and you can mention the new revised salary. So that accordingly in your payroll vouchers and also in your income tax computation, the recalculation will happen. I hope all of you are clear with the defining salary details. Okay, Mr. Praveen is asking what is EPS. EPS stands for Employee Pension Scheme. So there is as per the PF rules, employees from the employee salary, employee will be contributing 12%, right, towards the PF account, and equal amount of contribution should be there from the employer's side also. So that 12% has been bifurcated into two accounts. One is PF account, wherein 3.67% will be contributed, and next is EPS account, that is Employee Pension Scheme. So to that particular account, 8.33% will be allocated or contributed by the employer. Chandrasekhar ji, next thing I'm going to take up the configuration so that you'll understand how to configure. Okay, Tarun is asking a question. Please show me the screen of employer PF contribution alteration screen for computation part. Okay. So since PF will be deducted at basic salary and DA, so here since I do not have the dearness allowance, which majorly will be part of government employees' salary, so here I have considered basic salary on which employer will be contributing 8.33%. Mr. Tarun, I hope this suffices your question. Okay. So Dayananji, you are asking about administration charges. So administration charges I will not be showing as part of the component here because that is expense for the employer, right? So that is not part of the employee salary. So for administration expenses, we will be creating different pay heads actually in Tally. So if you want the information, I'll share you the help link later so that you will be able to refer and create accordingly. Tarun, this is part of the contribution. Okay, so here we have taken the formula as employee PF at the rate of 12% pay head minus employee pension scheme at the rate of 8.33. So whatever the difference among these two pay heads will get, so we'll be allocating 100% to this particular pay head. So you can create in this way. Okay, Mr. Praveen is asking how this is indirect expenses, why not under liability? So basically, this is the contribution for the business, right? So for the company. So once you contribute, though it is a liability for you, it becomes your business expense. So that is the reason here you will not be able to get the current liability because you have to anyway clear out that liability, right? So once you clear out, you will be showing that as a business expense or a salary expense. So that is the reason here we will be selecting either direct or indirect expenses. Okay. So some of the questions are slightly deviating from income tax. So if the time permits, I'll be able to take up them at the end of the session. So currently, let me just go income tax flow. Yeah. So I hope all of you are clear till now about the salary defined creation, because here also you need to select this income tax ledger that you have created or the pay head that you have created, so that automatically in the payroll voucher you will be able to deduct the income tax. So now I'll accept the salary details. So now it comes to the part of the configuration. So first of all, I will be configuring the required pay heads for the income tax configuration. So in order to configure that, what you can do is under the list of masters, here you can see I'm getting this show more option, right? So you need to click on this show more option. And once you click on show more, so now you can see under the payroll masters, you are getting various masters related to the income tax. So the first master here you need to go ahead is about income tax payhead details. So you need to click on this income tax payhead details so that whatever the salary components that we have created, right? So we will be map it with the income tax component. So though I have created as HRA in my data, so I would like to map it as HRA allowance as per the income tax computation, as per the income tax component, so that in my computation report, it will show under a respective HRA allowance. So you can see here, now none of the payheads I have configured for income tax. So that is the reason all these payheads are showing in italic format. So once it is configured, it will turn into bold font. And all the payheads that we have created here, it's showing under other earnings or allowances fully taxable by default. So now let us see how we will be able to configure these payheads. So now first I'm selecting the basic salary and you need to press enter. So here the income tax component. So there are various income tax components that is available. So for basic salary, obviously the income tax component is basic salary selected. And here you will be getting two types of calculation basis. One is on projected value and one is on actual value. So the component which is regular income for the employee, like it could be basic salary or HRA, whichever is fixed, right? So all those components you will be selecting as on projected value. And in case of bonus or in case of overtime, so you will not be paying that every month on month, right? So once in a year you may pay or you may not pay it, right? And based on the overtime done by the employee, the value also differs. So in whichever particular month you are paying, so on that particular value only if you want to consider the income tax, then for such kind of payheads, you can select on actual value. So for basic salary and other fixed components of the salary, I'll be selecting here as on projected value. Am I clear about these two calculation bases? All of you are clear? When to select on actual value and on projected value? Okay. So here I'll select on projected value, and one more advantage of selecting on projected value is, so based on the salary details that you have defined. So we went to the define salary option, right? So there we have defined what will be the salary of this particular employee. So from there, automatically before recording the vouchers, it will project and it will show you what will be the month on month income tax calculation. So you'll be able to generate even the salary projection report. So whichever payhead has been configured as on projected value. So for every month based on the salary that I have defined, it will show you the values. And in case if any payheads has been configured as on actual value, based on the payroll voucher you record, the salary projection report will get updated. So here I'll enter and accept it. So you can see here now I've configured this basic salary. So it is turned into bold. So similarly, I'll go to employee PF. So here by default, it will pick the income tax component. It will not allow me to go back and change the income tax component because it is a statutory one. So I'll just select as it is and HRA allowance. So HRA, I'll be searching as house rent allowance here as per the income tax value. Next, special allowances. So as special allowance, there will not be any income tax component. So this will be selected as other allowances fully taxable. So now you can see whatever the different components that I have configured under Aditi's salary. So all those things I have configured here. So whichever is not configured, it will be showing in italic. So if it is not configured, what will happen? In your income tax computation, these payheads value will not be added. So you may end up calculating the income tax wrongly. So whichever is the salary component, all those components has to be configured here for income tax deduction. Accordingly, it will pick the values from these payheads and it will be considering for the income tax computation report. Okay, Shilpa is asking what is daily salary here. Shilpa, that I have created for another scenario. So since it is not part of the Aditi's salary, currently I am not configured. So with the different names, the different organizations may create the components. So for one of the scenario, I had created this. Okay, so Praveen is having a question. Basic salary is fixed every month. How it is projected value? Projected means it's nothing but since it is a fixed one, I'll be projecting that value for all the 12 months, right? So that is the reason here we have given the terminology as on projected value. So that by defaultly, the same value will be considered. However, in case if the employee is absent because of which his basic salary may differ in that particular month, so once you record the payroll voucher, accordingly the revision will happen in the income tax competition report. For example, the employee's basic salary I have fixed at 25,000, right? So that he will be able to get only when he is present for all the standard working days. So if he has taken more leaves, that is beyond the leaves permitted to him, so there will be a loss of pay, right? So when there is a loss of pay and I'm reducing the basic salary value, then accordingly, once you record the payroll voucher, the same actual value will be considered, not the projected one. Mr. Praveen, please confirm if your query is clarified. Okay, now we have configured the pay head. So once we configure the pay heads, so next part is you are giving employee salary, but still they would have been made some declarations and exemptions, right? So the declarations and the exemptions is applicable only for the employees who have opted for old tax regime, because under new tax regime, there will not be any such exemptions allowed. So in order to declare those kind of income tax exemptions or declarations or savings declarations given by employee, so here we have given this option, income tax declarations. So I'll enter on this income tax declaration. So you can see step by step we have given the details here. One is to define the employee tax regime. So for everyone here, I've defined different type of tax regime. So for Aditi, currently the tax regime is regular tax regime. So next comes the house rent allowance. So related to house rent allowance, there are different rules. There is a set of rule applicable by Income Tax Act, right? So in case if you are living in metro or non-metro, right? So based on the accommodation, how much has to be exempted and how much has to be taxable. And in case if rent is based on the proof given or not, so all those things you'll be able to configure here, right? For example, in the year beginning, the employee is declaring that he is living in a rented house, right? So whatever the HRA allowance you are giving and the actual paid by him, so there will be set of rules applied and specific amount will be considered for charging the tax. So all those rules are inbuilt, handled in the product, so no need to go and set the rules applicable for different type of components. So you just need to come here and declare the actual amount which is paid by the employee as part of house rent. So I'll press enter here. Either you can select all employees or you can select a specific employee. So you can see here, this is how the declaration form will look like. So here we have given name and PAN of the landlord are mandatory if the rent declared for the year is more than 1 lakh. So whatever the set rules are there, as I mentioned, it is been handled in the product. So as and when the budgetary changes will happen, we'll keep updating our product so that income tax will get calculated based on the latest budget changes. Okay. So here I'll mention this employee, since she has joined from 1st April, I'll be configuring the details from 1st April and what is the house rent allowance declared. So in the year beginning itself, no employee will give you the proof, right? The rent receipt, they'll not be providing it. Only during the December or before you close the books of accounts for the income tax, then only they'll be providing the proof. Usually it will be given in the month of December or January. So till then, they will be giving you the declaration of the rent that they are paying every month on month. So say suppose here I'll mention 98,000. So once you get the proof, you can come and mention here. So here you need to select whether she is living in metro or non-metro. And name of the landlord and PAN of the landlord is required only when it is exceeding 1 lakh. So currently the declared rent amount for the entire financial period, that is 24-25, is 98,000, which is lesser than 1 lakh. So this is not mandatory. So I'll just enter here. So in case during the year, if Aditi has changed the house and she wants to set a new declaration from a specific period, so here you can mention the different effective date. Okay, so that the entire amount can be revised again, or you can just make the revision of the entire value as the actual rent that she has paid during the financial period. So is it clear about the house rent declaration? So based on this declaration and the actual amount of HRA that you will be paid, so Tally will apply the calculation in the backend and it will consider the taxable amount accordingly. Okay, so similarly, if you are providing leave travel assistance or transport allowance you are giving or children education allowance, so you can come and configure here accordingly. So here for each of the allowances which are exempted to a certain level or to a certain amount as per the Income Tax Act, all those allowances are available here. And next comes the income declared by the employee. So some employees will be having their income which are from shares and stocks or which are from the house property, right? So in case if they have declared their income here on which you want to deduct the tax, so here you can mention. For example, I'll enter on this. So here you can see, okay, let me just take another employee. So here you can see there is income from house property and income from other sources. So either the employee can declare it separately during their income tax return and pay it separately, or they can furnish the details to you so that on that value you can deduct the tax out of their salary and you can remit it to the department. So both the options are available for the employees. So if they have declared any such income to you, so you can mention here accordingly so that Tally will consider that income as a taxable amount. So here you can see, in case if you are selecting income from house property, as per the Income Tax Act, whatever the information is required over here, here it will be displayed. For example, she is receiving 50,000 of rent. So proof is 50,000 based on the proof given. So tax paid to local authorities, 0. So deduction. So 30% will be deduction, and remaining qualify amount, what is there? That is will be considered as a taxable amount, will be displayed over here. So similarly, in case if they are having any other income from other sources, they can just mention that other source and they can declare it over here. Okay, Praveen had a question. In May month, monthly rent will become above 1 lakh then. In the May month, you can go and revise it, Mr. Praveen. So whenever you revise it, for the subsequent months, the income tax will get adjusted. Okay, so this is about income declared by employee. So just pausing here to understand, are everyone clear about the income tax declarations with respect to exemption and incomes declared by the employee? Yes, Shilpa, that 98,000 was yearly rent for all the 12 months. Okay, so next comes the deduction part. So whatever the investment made by the employee, if they want to declare that, so that income tax will be accordingly calculated. So all the chapter 6, that is section 80C, CCF and CCG, investment you will be able to declare here. The configurations you will be able to do it here. So let me now select single employee, multiple components. So I'll just select Aditi Sharma. So all those declarations which are part of deductions, which are part of section 80C will be available over here. Like in case if she is paying an insurance premium, section under 80C, from which date onwards she is paying. So here I'll consider the amount. So once she provides the proof to me that she has paid so much of amount, so based on the proof, here I'll be entering. So once you mention the amount, so here you can see the total net qualifying amount for deduction, it will capture here accordingly. So based on the different components, so obviously under section 80C up to 1,50,000 only can be exempted, right? So more than that, it will be taxable. So all those information you'll be able to configure. So if she has a different type of investments, so here you can select here accordingly. For example, she also has this term deposit with scheduled bank, right? So term deposit means the deposits which are made for 5 years and above, those will be called as term deposits. So if she is investing in the term deposits, what is her yearly investment in the term deposits? That thing you have to mention here. Let me just select here as 20,000. She has also given me the proof of 20,000 that she has paid. So like this, you can select many other things. So housing loan, in case if she is she has declared the principal amount, then here you can select the principal amount details here. So she has paid during the financial period. So during the next 12 months, she is going to pay the principal amount towards her house loan, that is equal to 2 lakh rupees. So you can see here, totally she has declared 2,71,000 worth of investment. But as per sections 80C, how much is exempted? Only up to 1,50,000. So this 1,50,000 will be exempted from her salary, even though there will be the higher declarations or the based on the proof, the actual amount will be captured here. But however, for qualifying the amount under section 80C, 1,50,000 will be considered. Is it clear about the investment declaration configuration for the employees? Okay, Mr. Dilip is having a question. Can we get a comparison under regular tax regime and new tax regime? Dilip, such kind of comparison report currently we do not have. So you can change the tax regime under employee master and you can check the effect on the income tax computation report. So currently we don't have that report. Is it clear to everyone how to configure the investment declaration made by the employee? Okay, Shilpa is asking, so at the time of final submission, we have to change all this. So Shilpa, if you do at the year ending, that is in the month of March, if you do it, then you have to, that is not correct. See, in the beginning of the year itself, employee will provide all these declarations and investment plan that they have. So any changes that is before March, the employer will be taking up all those changes and they will be adjusting to the income tax. So if you do this configuration at the end of the year, then whatever the higher income tax you have deducted earlier, those things you have to remit it back to the employee. So it's better that you take the declarations and investment, all those details in the beginning of the financial year so that you'll be able to configure here. And if there are any changes required during the year, based on the employee's proof that they have given, you'll be able to consider. So enter and accept this now. So we have seen how to declare the investment declared by the employee. And next is whatever the components which are falling under section 80D or DD or 80E, you'll be able to configure here. I'm selecting the employee. So you can see here rent paid but not in receipt of HRA, or person with disability, or interest on savings bank account. So obviously all the employees will be having the savings bank account, right? So whatever the interest that they have got during the financial period, either they can remit the income tax individually while submitting the returns, or they can declare that interest to you so that you will be able to deduct from the salary. So in case if they have declared any such interest, you will be able to capture here. So since she has paid the housing loan, so here I'm selecting interest on housing loan, 1st April. So condition by default, it will take as others. So this is the annual amount. So say she is going to declare that in this particular financial period, I'm going to pay 4 lakh as interest amount to my bank. So obviously from whichever bank she has taken loan, she can get this information, right? So what will be the tax amount in the next financial period based on the set EMI. And for the tax purpose, obviously they will be issuing a receipt. So in case if she has paid the income tax, paid the interest on housing loan as 4 lakhs, based on that proof, you can mention the same thing here. So you can see here qualifying amount is 50,000. So irrespective of whatever the interest amount that she has paid on the housing loan during the financial period, as per the act, the qualifying is 50,000. And also in case if the employee has declared that they have donated to a charity or some donations they have made, based on the receipt issued by the employee, you can consider here. So currently I'm just selecting as end of list. So I hope now everyone are clear about investment and other deduction as per section 80C and 80D, which are very much important, especially for the old tax regime employees. So all these are part of the income tax declarations. Any questions related to income tax declarations? Okay, Dilip is asking where we can mention lender PAN for housing loan. So that has to be declared under section 80C. So as I shown Mr. Dilip, so here you can go under exemption, click on house rent allowance, select the employee. So you can see here she has given a proof of 98, for example. And here you can mention the landlord name and the PAN of the landlord. Under the exemption, select house rent allowance, and here you will be able to provide the details. Lender PAN on housing loan will not come into picture, Mr. Dilip. Lender PAN will come, that is landlord PAN will come into picture only for the house rent allowance. Lender of the housing loan. So that information will not be able to configure. Only whatever has been declared amount by the employee for the income tax purpose, only we will consider that, not the details of the receipt or the documents which is shared by the employee. So you will not be able to configure that. For fourth quarter TDS returns, as of now, in case if the employee is paying the house rent allowance, then the PAN of the landlord is mandatory, not the housing loan lender. So for housing loan, whatever the principal amount and the interest amount declared and exempted amount will be a part of the returns. Okay, Mr. Dilip, sure, we will check it out again. But however, for the deduction purpose, that is not required, because based on the value and the declaration given with the required information here only, time will consider for the income tax purpose. So now we have seen, we have configured all these declarations, right? So now let us go to the income tax computation. So though we have not yet recorded any entries, let me just take you to the income tax computation report. I'll go to display, statutory reports, payroll reports. So here we do have income tax. So I'll press enter on this. So here we do have the option of computation, right? So I'll just enter on this. So currently, since we have not yet recorded any entries and based on the salary, so here you can see the gross salary, house rent allowance, standard deduction, all those things will appear here. So based on the salary details that I have defined, so you can see here, since I have selected the calculation method as on projected value, and currently I have not yet recorded any salary voucher set. So before that itself, you will be able to navigate to this computation to see what will be the tax calculation. So month on month, it has picked this from the salary details that we have defined. So total gross salary will be 3,84,000, and we do have house rent allowance. Right? So on this house rent allowance, if you press enter, so based on the Income Tax Act, so here you can see the calculation. So house rent allowance received or receivable. So whatever is 5,000, that is receivable by the employee here. It is not by the employer, receivable by the employee. So I have said that 5,000 every month on month employer will be paying the house rent allowance. So 5,000 into 12 months, 60,000 will be receivable. An actual amount equal to 50% of the salary if place of accommodation is metro, or else 40% of the basic salary. So here we have given the calculation, right? So based on the metro or non-metro, if it is metro, obviously 50% will be considered. So based on these A and B, actual rent paid less 10% of the salary. So here she has declared that she has actually rent paid is 98,000, right? And 10% of the HRA net salary is 30,000. That is nothing but whatever she has received out of that 10% that is receivable. So they will be comparing these two things, and finally the exempted amount out of this A, B, and C. So whichever is lesser, it will be considered over here. So as per A parameter, 60,000 is lesser, right? When compared to B and C parameters as per the Income Tax Act. So exempted is least of A, B, and C. So 60,000 has been considered. So whatever the amount has been considered, that will get equally distributed over the months of 12 months. So the same thing is here showing as 5,000 each for every month. So based on that, here total amount exemption will be captured. And here you can see standard deduction of 50,000 is applicable for both old tax and new tax regime. So currently this employee is under old tax regime. So 50,000 is being shown here. And here in case if other income declared by the employee, interest on housing loan, the same thing will be shared over here. So deductions under chapter 3A. So whatever other deductions that Provident Fund and NPS was not there, but PF was there as part of the salary. So PF we had configured as a payhead, as part of the payhead configuration, right? So based on that, here it has captured. So any other deductions that we have declared under section 80D. So you could see that interest on housing loan has been declared. So here qualifying amount has been considered accordingly. So based on all these reductions and actual salary, standard deduction, or any income declared by the employee or any exemption declared by the employee under section 80C, all those things will be considered here. And then here you'll be able to get the total income chargeable to tax. So since in this particular employee case, the total income chargeable to tax is falling within the exemption tax bracket, right? That is the reason here you're not getting any tax on total income. So now let me just go and alter some of the values that I'll be able to show you with the calculation. So I'm just increasing the salary of the employee so that I'll be able to do with the calculation. So you can see here immediately your salary projection report or income tax computation report also will get updated here. So you can see here, after considering all these above elements, total income chargeable to tax is 9,32,000 and taxable income is 1,02,000. So if you press enter on this, as I mentioned, the income tax slab is already inbuilt in the product, right? So based on the gender configuration, currently it is same for both the genders. So based on that, here you will be able to see up to 2,50,000, and since I've selected old tax regime, based on this, here the slab rates have been updated, and even the education cells also has been considered over here. So after this, it will be total of 1,02,856. So now if I record the payroll voucher, whatever the monthly income tax it has to deduct, so it will get deducted. So whenever there is change in any income, accordingly this report will get updated, and tax per month will also get auto adjusted here. So how it is getting auto adjusted, you will be able to see from this particular report, salary projection. So by defaultly, this report in the beginning of the financial period that considers the salary details, right? So once you record the payroll voucher, here instead of showing as projection, it will show as actual, right? So for example, in this month, the employee is going to be absent for 15 days. So only for the rest 15 days, you have made the salary voucher. So accordingly, here it will start capturing the actual value. Okay, so before the recording of the vouchers, it will always pick the details from the salary details that you have configured, and it will show you the income tax computation. But as and when the actual payment will happen, right? So actual calculation of salary will take place in Tallyprime by recording the payroll voucher. Here the recalculation of taxes will happen. Is this report is clear how this report will behave, salary projection report? Okay, Satyavan Sahuji is asking a question. HRA declaration amount is monthly or yearly? So we have mentioned as yearly declaration amount, Mr. Sahuji. It's not monthly. Okay, Rahul is asking a question. ELSS, PPF, EPF are investment instruments under Section 80C. Yes, Mr. Rahul, you will be able to configure them under Section 80C. You can see Employee Provident Fund that was reflected already, right? Because we had that particular pay head. So you can see here EPF is already we had configured, so accordingly it is capturing here. So in case if your employee is having PPF or ELSS, you'll be able to configure that from the income tax declaration menu option. Okay, so there is a question from Mr. Chandrasekhar G. If the declared proof varies with the actual at year end, will income tax be calculated automatically for the differential amount? Yes. So while creating the voucher, you have the option whether you want to calculate the income tax based on the proof value, right? So once you collect the proof from the employees, you'll be configuring the proof value amount in the declarations menu, right, Chandrasekhar ji? So after that, whenever you're recording the voucher, you'll get the option whether you want to consider the proof values now, so that adjustment will happen. So that I'll show you while recording the voucher. So that, for example, in December month, you are going to collect the proof, or in the January month, you are going to collect the proof. So from April till December or April till January, you have charged the tax based on the declared amount. And now once you collect the proof from the employees, so you'll come here and update the proof value, right? So based on that, in case if it is going to be a differentiated amount, so from the Jan month onwards salary, you will be charging that excess or reduced one, and accordingly you will be able to adjust the details. So here in the computation report also, based on the declared value, you can see here computed based on declared value. So in the month of December or Jan, once you collect the proof, once you configure it, you can click on this F8 proof value, and based on that, here it will be showing you the information. Okay, let me just show you now how you will be able to account this in the vouchers. Okay, so here you can see the components have been mapped based on the attendance, right? So based on the attendance of the employee, the basic salary paid. So I'm just checking in case what is that particular present. Okay, so we have configured this particular pay head based on the number of days present. So to record the voucher first. So I'll be going to vouchers. I'll click on other vouchers. I'll be selecting here as attendance voucher. So this usually I'll be recording as on the end of the particular month, 30th April. I'll select the employee. Here I'll select present, 26 days. So I want to consider the week offs also. So the creation of this attendance or production type also we had explained in our past webinar. So basically week offs also will be falling under present because we will be paying the payment including the week off. So here I mentioned 4 week offs were there and 26 days of present are there. So I'll be adding attendance voucher. So once I account this attendance voucher, next I'll be recording a payroll voucher. So for the income tax purpose, so there are two things to be considered here whenever you are recording a payroll voucher. So first of all, you need to always use this autofill option. So if you don't use the autofill option, then whatever the salary components which will calculate automatically based on a percentage or based on a different particular pay heads value, so those things will not automatically get calculated. So always you need to use the Control F option. So once you use the Control F option, so for the income tax purpose, you might have created certain payheads as user defined. So certain payheads can be configured as a percentage, and certain payheads will be having flat rate that is fixed for every month, right? And certain payheads you have given as user defined. That means uh, consider, for example, overtime. So overtime you will be paying at the end of the month only based on the actual overtime hours worked by the employee. So you will not be knowing that value prior to you. So in such scenario, those payheads you will create as user defined. So in case in your data, if you have created any of the payheads under user defined, first you need to record the voucher for user defined, and then you have to click on salary. So if you do not have any user defined payheads, so in my data, I do not have any payheads as user defined. So directly you can click on the process for salary. So here you can see, so Chandrasekhar, you had asked this question. So all these days, that is from April till December, till I collect the proof details, I'll be selecting here, process the income tax deduction based on the declared value. So declared value, wherever I have captured in the configuration, that is under the declaration, income tax declaration, based on that value, the income tax will be deducted. So once I mention the proof value, so in the month of January, February, March, so based on the proof value, you want to adjust the tax amount. In that scenario, for those months, you will be selecting process here as based on proof value. So currently I'm selecting as declared value. I select Aditi Sharma, salary payable. So you can see here based on the income tax computation report, whatever the income tax salary that I've got, so here it will be showing you the details. And also it will capture the narration that the pay period is April to 30th April, and we have computed the tax based on the declaration value. Okay, Mr. Dilip is saying that do we need to do this each employee individually? That is not required, Dilip. So since in the demonstration I have just configured for one employee, I have selected one employee. So let's this voucher. So in the autofill option, you'll be able to get the option to select all the employees. So you can see here, I have created certain categories and also groups to categorize or to classify my employees. So you can just select all items here. So under respective category, all the all the employees that you have created at a time from one voucher, you will be able to account it. So if you have not created any categories, you'll get by default primary cost category. Under that, you select all the groups that you have created. For example, for different employees who are belonging to different departments, you would have created different employee groups. So you can select all the groups at a time, and all the employees will be listed accordingly. So it's not create individual vouchers for individual employees. Okay, Chandrasekhar ji is asking a question, how the Form 16 will be mapped from the salary details. So all of us know that Form 16, whatever is displayed by Tally, you are just not supposed to take the printout of it and give it to the employee, right? So you have to generate the Form 16 on the Tracers portal. But however, since you are managing the details in the Tally and most of our users are still referring to the Form 16 details in Tally, we have given the option to generate the Form 16 here. But you cannot issue that to the employee. So based on the different configurations that we have done and based on the details that we have captured in the income tax computation report, same thing will be pushed to your Form 16. So if you want to generate the Form 16, you can navigate to statutory report, payroll report, income tax. So here you have the annual Form 16. So currently I process the salary only over the month of April. I have not yet recorded any challan details because I have not yet recorded the payment voucher, right? So you can see here based on the configurations that I have done, accordingly here it is getting captured. So no need to do any separate configurations, Mr. Chandrasekhar, for capturing the details in Form 16. So based on the configuration for income tax you have made, declarations you have made, and the vouchers you have recorded, based on that, Form 16 will capture the details automatically. Okay, Mr. Dilip is asking, how can we stop tally alert sounds? So for that, Mr. Dilip, you can navigate to F1, click on this settings option. So then go to display. So here you do have the option of enable sound. So just disable this particular option, escape it, so that you'll not be able to get that alert sounds. Okay, so now we have deducted the income tax for the month of April. So now we will be remitting that to department. So in order to remit, what you are supposed to do, you have to make a payment voucher. So we'll click on this payment voucher. Say suppose I'm remitting as on 1st of May, but however the due date is within 7th of May, 7th of subsequent month. So obviously it will be happening through the bank account. So here also you are supposed to use this autofill option. So if you don't use the autofill option, then under your Form 16, the details will not get captured. So the challan details will not get updated in your returns and also in your annual return form. So whatever the 24Q you generate for the quarterly returns, right? So even in that, the challan details will not get captured. So always for the payroll vouchers, you have to use the Control F autofill option. So in case if you are making the salary payment, select payroll autofill option. Currently, I'm making the payment of income tax. So I'll select start payment. Sorry, let me go with payroll autofill. So under this payroll autofill, we have two bifurcation. One thing is as an employer, we will be making the payment to the different departments, like it could be PF or ESI or income tax. One thing is salary payment to the employee. So whatever the type of payment you are making, accordingly select here. So currently I want to generate the challan. So I'll be selecting income tax challan for the month of April. So here you can select all the employees at one shot. So since I have recorded the vouchers for Aditi Sharma, I'm selecting only one particular employee. And here the details will get captured. So the payment of this income tax through whichever bank mode that you have made, so you'll be capturing the challan date, challan number, and through which particular bank you have made the details, because this will be part of your Form 24Q text file as well, return text file as well. So you need to mention the details here. So I'm just mentioning a dummy BSR code over here, and challan number will be of 5 digits. I'll press enter and accept this. So once I accept this entry, the payment entry, I'll just navigate to this particular payment voucher again. So you can see here income tax challan is displaying. So once I press Alt P, click on current. So if you want to generate the income tax challan, you can generate it from Tally. So you can see the preview here. So just pausing here to understand if you are having any questions so far with respect to the voucher entry. Are you clear with the payroll voucher and then the payment voucher? Okay, Shilpa ji is having a question. Can it redirect to online payment? No, Shilpa. So currently we don't have that integration with the direct banks so that we can have that online payment. Okay, Mr. Kaliji is asking, can you do it once again, voucher entry? Sir, can you please specify whether you want me to show the payroll voucher or the payment voucher? Okay, just let me remove this entry so that I can re-show it again. Okay, so in order to do the payment voucher, just come to the payment voucher and it has to be in single entry mode. So if you have changed the mode to double entry mode, so here you can see you are getting this single entry and double entry, right? So if it is in double entry mode, then this control F will not work. So it has to be in single entry mode, then only autofill will work. So you have to click on autofill. So here you need to select payroll autofill option. So related to payroll, whether you're making payment of ESI or income tax, accordingly here you need to select the income tax challan here. And for which particular period you are remitting this amount, whatever the income tax that you have deducted from the employee salary, for which month it is. So you have to mention that from and to, and you are making this entry as on 1st of May. So here I'm selecting one particular employee and income tax on salary. This was the ledger, right, to which we accounted the deduction. And through whichever mode you are making the payment through the bank, I'll select it. So that automatically here the details will appear. And since you are making the payment through the bank, so obviously you would have got that receipt details, right? So that information related to challan you are supposed to mention here. So you'll mention here check or DD number. Depositor name. So from your organization, who has deposited this, to which particular bank, and what is the BSR code, which is of 7 digits, and what was the challan number through which you have made the payment. So these details you will capture it and you will record the payment voucher. So once you are able to record this particular payment voucher, you can go back to this entry, press Alt P, so that here you'll be able to generate the tax challan. So income tax challan by default it's enabled. So in case if you disable it, it will just print the payment voucher. Is it clear, Mr. Kaliji? Okay, next question is asked by Mr. Madhavan. Show the income tax on salary ledger. So that is not a ledger that you will be creating as a payhead, but whatever the payhead you create in Tally, that will also be shown as ledgers. So if you go to Master's Alteration, so if you go to Ledger, so you can see here, whatever the payheads I have created, that will be displayed as ledgers as well. So if you want to know how we have created that income tax payhead, so this will be creating under employees statutory deduction, and the statutory pay type is income tax, and this is the organization liability to deduct. So here I've selected as current liabilities. So affect net salary, I'll be enabling this option so that whenever I'm printing the pay slip, right? So income tax charged will also be displayed in the pay slip. So affect net salary, I'll be enabling this option. And calculation type, by default, it will pick as per the income tax slab, and calculation period is month on month. So I'll just select months and I'll press enter and accept it. So this is how you'll be creating the ledger. Mr. Madhavan, is it clear to you on the creation? Okay. Okay, Kaliji is asking, can you do the provision part? Can you give me some more details, Mr. Kaliji, so that I can check about these provisions? Can you let me know more details, like what provisions you are talking about? So you want me to show the salary entry, salary voucher that we have recorded? Are you referring to that? Okay, so let me just show you with the May month salary. Okay, so in the May month, let us consider that employee is absent for 5 days. So accordingly, I'll be recording the attendance voucher. So first I'll be recording the attendance voucher as on 31st of May. So she is present only for 15 days. Week offs are 4 days. So she'll be paid only for 19 days here. So if you want to capture specifically that Aditi was absent, so that in the payslip accordingly it will capture. So here I'll select Aditi Sharma, and for absent I have created separate attendance type. So I'll select that. Okay, so for 12 days it is absent, so I'll just consider the same thing. Okay, so after this I'll be recording a salary voucher. So for that I'll click on other vouchers. You need to select payroll voucher. So under the payroll, again I'll be selecting autofill option. Payroll autofill. So I don't have any user defined, so I'll be directly navigating to salary based on declaration 1st May to 31st May. I'll select Aditi Sharma, and here I'll be selecting salary payable ledger. So whatever the salary here I'll account, it will be transferred to salary payable. And when I make the salary payment, I'll be able to remit through the salary payable ledger. So once I press enter, so here you can see whatever the income tax that has been deducted earlier and now it has a difference, right? Because my basic salary is changed. So Kaliji, I hope now you're clear with the payroll voucher for salary. So now let us navigate to statutory reports, payroll and income tax. First, let me take you to the salary projection. So you can see here, since I have recorded the vouchers for April and May, now instead of showing as projection, it will start showing as actuals. So since based on the actuals, you can see here the income tax also will get revised, and in the subsequent months it will get adjusted. So Venkatesh, as I mentioned here, the basic salary was a component based on the number of days present, right? So other two were flats actually, fixed one. So that is the reason here you can see for the month of May, the basic salary, in case if Aditi would have come on all the days, she would have got the basic salary of 75,000. Because she was absent for 12 days, she has got the basic of 45,000. So based on this, the income tax, total tax income will change, and accordingly the revision will happen in the income tax calculation. So that you'll be able to find out from this particular report. Mr. Dilip, which entry you are referring to? Salary payable will be credited and which account will be debited for this entry? Okay, you want me to go to trial balance. So whatever the salary components are there, right? So those will be showing as debit actually. And it will be credited to salary payable. And once you record the salary payment voucher. So now let me record the salary payment voucher. Before that, I'm just taking you once again to this current liabilities of trial balance. So April month salary is 92,428, right? So let me make this particular payment voucher. So to make this salary payment, I'll click on payment. Let me change the date to 7th of May. I'll click on autofill. So even for the salary payment, you have to click on this autofill, click on payroll autofill. And this payment I'm making for the month of April. As on 7th of May, I'm making the payment for Aditi through the salary payable and through the bank account. So now you can see once you make the payment, that value will get reduced. So this is how the effect will happen on the trial balance. Okay, Mr. Dilip is asking also please expand expenses in the trial balance. So under the expenses, whatever the salary components that we have created, right? So those will be displayed here. So all these salary components are created under the group indirect expenses. That is what we get it here, right? So while creating the pay head, the group will be asked to select. So once you make the payment in your profit and loss account, accordingly, it will be showing you the details. Yes, Mr. Dilip. So all the pay heads will be acting as a ledgers. So that is the reason I mentioned here. So when you go to this masters alter, right? So this particular option, masters alters. So if you go to ledgers, so here you can see all the pay heads will be showing as ledgers as well. But ledgers will not show as pay heads here because specifically you have created salary pay heads. So you can see here you don't get cash or bank details over here. Or if you have created any sundry debtors or creditors, those will not display here, but these are created as expenses, salary components that will be showing as ledgers. Venkatesh, we have recorded this session. After a few hours, the recorded session link will be shared to you through the mail so that you'll be able to go through the configurations that we have made. Siddharth, you'll not be able to find the recording link anywhere. So whatever the registered email ID that you have given during the registration for this session, to the same email ID, we will be sharing you the link. So now you have seen that under under the old tax regime, how the different exemptions, everything was calculating based on the set IT rule and it was showing up the details. And now in case if I'm just changing this to new tax regime. So whatever the declarations, even though if you have configured, that will not be displayed over there. For example, I just want to apply it from 1st April itself. I'm just showing you in the same employee masters just to get a reflection of the changes that happens. So now if I go to payroll reports, income tax and computation. So now you can see the exemptions, everything will not display over here because only standard deduction will be applicable for the new tax regime and also the NPS. So house loan or HRA, so all those things will not be applicable over here. Accordingly, again, whenever you change the tax regime, the recalculation will happen over here. So the recalculated tax will get adjusted in the subsequent months. So for the new tax regime, the different slab rates will be applicable. So if you press enter on the total tax income, it will give you the bifurcation. Okay, so in this way, we have supported both the new tax regime and the old tax regime. So here you can see we do have the option to generate the quarterly returns and the annual returns. So E24Q, which basically will be used for filing the returns on the TIN-NSDL portal. So you can use this E24Q. So based on the vouchers that you have recorded. So obviously, if I have to generate the quarterly returns, say suppose now it is the first quarter, April, May and June. So I need to ensure that I have recorded the payroll vouchers and also the payment voucher related to income tax for all the employees for all these 3 months. So after the challan date is completed, then I'll be generating this, right? So if you generate this particular file, so you can see here, it will be generated in the SDF format, which is nothing but the text format. So based on the return format of the 24Q returns, the text file will be capturing the information. It could be the company details or it could be the salary details of the employee. And based on the salary details, whatever the deduction details, so based on the particular format, we will be capturing the information in this text file. So text file is not a, it will not be in a readable, it will be a readable format, but it will be difficult to identify where exactly which particular amount is getting captured. So the same text file, once you export from Tally using the file validator utility tool, you will be validating the file and you will be generating the form 27A. So that is how we have supported the quarterly return. So obviously for the first quarter, second quarter and third quarter, the return format is same. Only in the fourth quarter, the return format changes will be there. So which we have supported it. So and in the recently in the file validation utility tool, which is given by the NSDL is 8.2. So let me just take you there. To NSDL website. So if you navigate to this NSDL website, okay, just 1 minute. Okay, this is nsdl.co.in. So I'll just go to TIN NSDL website. The website is a bit slow. Okay, so this is the website from where you will be able to download the file validation utility tool. So if you just generate the text file of return from Tallyprime, you will not be able to upload that return file because as per the department instruction, you have to validate that file and then only you will be able to generate the form 27A, which you can upload it on the portal, right? So in order to download that particular file validity utility, you can click on this downloads option, go to ETDS or ETCS, then go to quarterly returns, and it is a regular return because the revised return we have not yet supported in Tallyprime. So you'll be able to generate only the regular returns from Tallyprime. So just click on this regular return. So here you'll be able to get the information of different forms that are applicable, right? So for salary, it is 24Q. And what are the file format for 24Q? So as I mentioned, from quarter 1 to quarter 3, there will be different file format. And for fourth quarter, there will be a different file format. So Mr. Dilip, if you can download this file format for form 24Q. So whatever the lender's lending bank PAN number you were mentioning, you can find out whether it is applicable for the fourth quarter return or not. So here they have also given the sample files so that you can download and you can use it for the validation in case if you want to test it. And if you come down, so here we have given the file validation utility. So this is important to validate the text file which you have generated from Tallyprime. So here you can see the latest ETDS FU tool is 8.6. So this is applicable from 19th of April onwards. This particular version was launched on 19th of April, and this is applicable for your fourth quarterly return as well. That is for last January, February, March return as well. This is applicable. So currently in this particular version, there are few changes which Tallyprime is yet to handle, but we have certain alternatives to cater to this particular version changes. So if you are using this version and if you are getting some errors, you can reach out to our support team so that we will be able to guide you with the workaround solution so that you can successfully upload the returns. So since it is the latest FU validation tool, only when you use this particular tool and the form 27A is generated, only those particular form will be accepted. So if you are using any lower version of FU for the particular return, it will not be accepted by the department. So always whenever you are validating the 24Q return from Tallyprime, you have to always come to this website and see what is the latest version, download it and use this particular tool for the validation. Okay, Rahul is having a question. Can we submit the medical bills for tax exemption? So, is it being submitted by the employee, Mr. Rahul, which you are reimbursing to them? So, if you are just reimbursing to them, then I guess it is taxed at 31%. So, those will be like perquisites that you are giving to the employees, right? So, it depends on the company how they are providing this medical bills allowance. Are they giving a fixed allowance to the employees, or is it kind of a reimbursement? So on the reimbursement, obviously there will be a tax of 31% on the bill value. So accordingly, you can configure. So you can see here, we can create the reimbursement also as payhead. So I'm just creating a payhead here as medical bills. So if it is a reimbursement, so you can configure here as reimbursement to employees. So it is a variable because based on the bill value, the employee will be getting it. Income tax details you can configure from the payhead also. So in medical reimbursement, you can see there is an income tax component, right? So select medical reimbursement on actual value, whatever the proof value given, right? So whatever the bills that has been submitted by the employee, based on that you will be charging the tax. So select on actual value, and now the cursor will go to deduct TDS across periods. So for example, in the month of May, your employee has submitted one medical bill of 1,000 rupees. Okay. So whatever the tax that is applicable on that particular reimbursement, whether you want to charge in the same month and recover it from the employee's salary, or whether you want to charge across the months. So if you want to charge across the months, even though the bill was submitted in the month of April, you can enable this option, deduct TDS across periods. So if you don't want that, and in whichever month they have submitted the reimbursement bill, on the same month if you want to charge, just make this option as no and accept it. Rahulji, is the configuration is clear? So this particular payhead you will be configuring in salary details. So you could see that, just 1 minute. So you can see here I mentioned as user defined value, because since it is a reimbursement and based on the bill submitted by the employee, I'll be making the payment. So that is the reason here type of calculation will be selected as user defined value. So when such kind of pay heads exist, what will happen? Whenever you are recording a payroll voucher, first you will be recording for user defined pay head, and then you will be recording the voucher for salary. So let me just go and revise the salary details for Aditi. So since I have processed already May month salary, I'll be just revising from June. Okay, so here I've selected this. I'll press enter and accept it. So now let me proceed with the June month transaction. So first I'll be recording the attendance voucher for the month of June. Okay, so after recording this attendance voucher, so now let me record the payroll voucher. So under the payroll voucher, again, I'll be selecting autofill. And here, as I mentioned, now I've got the user defined pay head, right? So first I'll select user defined. And based on the actual bill submitted by her, so here I'll be mentioning the value. Say suppose now the medical bill value was 2,000 rupees. I pressed enter and accepted. After this, I'll be recording the salary voucher. Okay. Okay, I had selected employee deduction. Also, ESI is not applicable for this particular amount. So here it is showing 0. So you can see here income tax has got recalculated. So it will consider the medical bill value also. So in order to find out that how it has considered, just go to the projection report, statutory reports, payroll, and then income tax. Go to salary projection. So you can see here, even the medical bill also has got considered. So since I have selected deduct in the same month, so on this particular value, whatever the tax is applicable, it will calculate and it will be revisiting this particular income tax amount. Is it clear, Mr. Raoji? In case if you are having the reimbursement of the medical bills, you can configure in this way and you will be able to consider for the tax calculation. So here you can see under the quarterly, we do have this E-24Q. So this will be used to generate the return text file. And here you will be getting this form 24Q. So in case if you want to just have the preview, like whatever has been exported in the return text file, which is obviously a bit difficult to read because of the format that it has. So you can just go to this and click on preview. So you will come to know that whatever the information is pushed to that particular return text file will be available over here. So you can see here now the total tax deposited is showing as only 8,000 because for the rest 2 months, that is for the month of May and June, I have not yet recorded the income tax challan payment entry. So it is showing only for the April month. So you need to ensure that you record all the vouchers, then only you are supposed to generate. So before generating E24Q, you can go to this form 24Q and check it out how the details will be captured. And to support this form 24Q, we have this annexure. This will be the basic details, right, related to that particular data. So that here you will be getting a particular breakup. So for all the employees, what is the total taxable amount that will be captured in the return file? And the breakup of the tax like surcharge and other things. So here it will be displayed here. So these are the additional details to refer back to understand what value will be captured in my return file. So form 24Q and annexure 1 to 24Q. So using these two, you will not be able to file the returns. It is only for your reference. So using E24Q, you will be able to file the returns, means you will be able to validate the return data and then you will be able to file it on the website. So here we also have this ITR1. So you can just enter on the particular employee. So ITR1 format is also available in Tallyprime. If you want to generate, you can generate it from here as well. But usually all this information will be available on traces. So since you are maintaining the data in Tallyprime, and if you want to compare the data on the traces portal based on the file that you have uploaded, right? So after that also the user might have made some changes in the voucher, right? So you would have filed the return and after that your data entry person would have made some mistakenly would have done some errors. So because of which the information will change in the company data, but same will not get updated on your portal. So in order to compare with the data that you are having with the portal, we have this form 16 and ITR so that you'll be able to compare with the details.